Welcome to Genius Extracts. Today we are sharing the history and other information one need to know about Fijian Island. Let's get into the topic without wasting any time.
The first human settlers in Fiji appeared around 3.5 thousand years ago. The ancient inhabitants are today known as Lapita people, from the distinctive beautiful pottery they created, relics of which have been discovered in almost all of the Pacific Islands east of New Guinea but not in eastern Polynesia. They may have originated in the eastern Solomon Islands or from northern or central Vanuatu, according to linguistic data. They quickly made more progress, colonizing Tonga and Samoa in the east, Rotuma in the north, and Rotuma in the south. From there, great distances were traveled in order to fully colonize the Pacific Ocean to the north in Hawaii, the east in Rapanui, Easter Island, and the south in Aotearoa, present-day New Zealand. Unlike the islands of Polynesia, which showed a continuous steadily evolving culture from initial occupation, Fiji appears to have undergone at least two periods of rapid culture change in prehistoric times. This may have been due to the arrival of fresh waves of immigrants, presumably from the west. Prehistorians have noted that a massive 12th-century volcanic eruption in southern Vanuatu coincides with the disappearance there of a certain pottery style, and its sudden emergence in Fiji. It is hardly surprising then, that the Fijian culture is an intricate network and that generalizations are fraught with danger. Although the legendary king of Bau, Nalavu, and his successors had control over a large area of eastern Fiji, at no time before colonialization was Fiji a political unity. Nevertheless, Fiji does exhibit certain traits that sets it apart from its neighbors, and it is this that defines a distinctive Fijian culture. Leading his people across the ocean to the brand new nation of Fiji was the great chief Latunasoba. The majority of experts concur that individuals entered the Pacific through the Malay Peninsula after leaving Southeast Asia. Long before the advent of the Europeans, the Melanesians and the Polynesians combined to form a highly advanced civilization in this location. It was through accident that the Fiji group was discovered by the Europeans. Abel Tasman, a Dutch explorer, and English navigators, especially Captain James Cook, made the first of these discoveries in 1643. Cook later made more voyages in the 18th century. Captain William Bligh, who traveled through Fiji after the mutiny on the Bounty in 1789, deserves the majority of the credit for discovering and cataloging the islands. Runaway prisoners from the Australian penal colonies and shipwrecked sailors were the first Europeans to land and dwell among the Fijians. By the middle of the 19th century, traders and missionaries were arriving. The practice of cannibalism in Fiji at the time quickly vanished as missionaries gained power. Tribal violence ended once Ratuseru Kakabau converted to Christianity in 1854, and the rest of the nation quickly did the same. Indians arrived as indentured laborers to work on the sugar plantations between 1879 and 1916. Many people continued to work as independent farmers and businesspeople after the indentured system was ended. They make up 43.6% of the population as of right now. Fijians first impressed themselves on European consciousness through the writings of the members of the expeditions of Cook who met them in Tonga. They were described as formidable warriors and ferocious cannibals, builders of the finest vessels in the Pacific, but not great sailors. They inspired awe among the Tongans, and all their manufactures, especially bark cloth and clubs, were highly esteemed and much in demand. They called their home Viti, but the Tongans called it Phaisai, and it is by this foreign pronunciation, Fiji, first promulgated by Cook, that these islands are now known. After the explorers, other Europeans followed. For over half a century, Fijian culture enjoyed what has been called its golden age, as tools and weapons brought by traders were turned by resourceful chiefs to their own advantage. Canoes and houses were built, confederations formed and wars fought on a grand scale without precedent. Gradually and inevitably, however, the Fijian way of life was changing. As Christianity spread in the islands, wars ceased abruptly and Western clothing was adopted. After Fiji was ceded to Great Britain in 1874, epidemics nearly wiped out the population and it seemed as if the natives were doomed. But the colonial government took the Fijian side. Land sales were forbidden, health campaigns implemented and the population picked up again. Theirs was not, of course, the culture of the heathen Golden Age, but one modified by the new religion and increasingly the new economic order. Yet in today's Fiji, independent since 1970, a surprising amount has survived. The 20th century brought about important economic changes in Fiji as well as the maturation of its political system. Fiji developed a major sugar industry and established productive copper milling, tourism and secondary industries. As the country now diversifies into small-scale industries, the economy is strengthened and revenues provide for expanded public works, infrastructure, health, medical services and education. The country's central position in the region has been strengthened by recent developments in sea and air communications and transport. Today, Fiji plays a major role in regional affairs and is recognized as the focal point of the South Pacific. Fiji is now home to many other races, Indians, part Europeans, Chinese and other Pacific Islanders living in harmony, and keeping their own cultures and identity. Fijians, slightly over 50% of the total population, are essentially members of communities. They live in villages and do things on a communal basis. The Indians have also regarded Fiji as their home. Most of them are descendants of laborers brought to the country from India to work in the sugar plantations about 100 years ago under the indentured labor system. Although they were offered passages back into India after their term, most preferred to stay. And through the years they have continued to work the land, becoming prominent in agriculture and also commerce. There has been some intermarriage, but this has been minimal. However, Indians living in the rural areas have adapted well, some even speaking the local dialect and mixing well with the Fijians. As a country, Fiji is rural-based with about 60% of the population living in the rural areas. English is the main language, but Fijian and Hindi are also taught in schools as part of the school curriculum. Indigenous Fijians have their own dialects and you can tell where one comes from their dialect. Indians too have their own, and generally speak a distinctive Fiji Hindi dialect. This is not the same as the one spoken in India.
Thank you for watching. Hope you liked it. We are updating history of every country in the world one by one. Please like and subscribe for more informative videos.